6 months ago tonight, many of us woke up in the middle of a night's sleep to news that seemed impossible. A 900-plus ton ship had crashed into the Key Bridge, destroying it and taking the lives of 6 Marylanders.
There's still a lot we don't know about what happened that night, but we have learned a lot in the last 6 months. Investigators are piecing together what went wrong and who's to blame. Here's a breakdown of what they've discovered so far. Just 3 days after the Key Bridge collapse, as everyone was clamoring for answers, we spoke with Captain Jim Staples. He's a master mariner and a consultant for maritime investigations. He told us ships like the Dali have emergency generators that should kick in automatically during a power outage, allowing a crew to maintain steering ability.
If they were doing the correct thing, they should have already been in the emergency steering condition.
So you imagine if they weren't, that must mean that they couldn't.
Right. So to me, they've had a complete failure on that vessel for power, including the emergency generator.
Turns out he was right, based on what we know so far from investigators. There are 2 separate but parallel investigations happening, one from the Department of Justice and one from the NTSB. The NTSB has only released preliminary reports, so we know a lot more from the DOJ. The department summarized its findings in a lawsuit against the 2 companies responsible for the Dali, Grace Ocean and Synergy Marine. U.S. attorneys accused the 2 companies and the crew of cutting corners to save time and money. Investigators found the ship had long-standing problems dating back to at least the spring of 2023, and these notes show that the prior captain had reported those issues to Synergy. Excessive vibrations were wearing on the ship's electrical system, shaking loose important wires and cables.
But instead of taking necessary precautions, they did the opposite. They configured the ship's electrical and mechanical systems in a way that prevented those systems from being able to quickly restore propulsion and steering after a power outage.
And they say that's exactly what happened on March 26th. It was a domino effect. When a transformer malfunctioned and the ship lost power, it should have automatically switched to that backup source. But that safety feature had been, quote, recklessly disabled by the crew. Engineers wasted time manually resetting the system, time they could have spent steering away from the Key Bridge. Power was restored, but only for a minute.
The Dali lost power a second time, likely because the vessel had been using an inadequate temporary fuel pump that could not restart after a blackout. This was another legal safety requirement that the Dali failed to follow in order to cut costs and save time.
At that point, it was too late. The ship was heading straight towards one of the bridge's piers. DOJ attorneys say neither the captain nor the companies responsible for the ship reported the prior issues to the Coast Guard, as obligated by federal regulations. The captain also failed to inform the local state pilot who boarded the ship the morning that it sailed out of the Port of Baltimore.
This is information he should be passing on to the pilot so the pilot can make a good judgment whether is this ship safe to go or not, because that's his main concern. He's getting on a ship that he may never have been on before. He wants to know if the ship is safe to be put to sea.
And the DOJ's findings jibe with what the NTSB has released so far. Documents released this month show Hyundai engineers inspecting the ship. Hyundai is the manufacturer of the Dali. A loose cable was found, and engineers performed a simulation to demonstrate how it could cause a blackout if that cable became disconnected. The NTSB's full report isn't expected for at least another 6 months. And the legal battle determining financial accountability is expected to last a lot longer, possibly continuing until even after the bridge is rebuilt. The allegations against the Dali's owner and operator are now the subject of more than 30 separate claims against those 2 companies.